Hey, this video is just for fun and to help others improve. Please don't go out of your way to hunt down or harass anyone mentioned in this video. Thank you and enjoy. Sup, mothers and Edie, no! Fine, I'm Edie, creation of Misal, and the dragon lady who will be talking to you about something dumb on the internet today. Which seems like someone else talking about Miss Anthropopony video on Generation 5 of MLP. Or the movie, rather, since nothing else has come out yet. No, I don't watch MLP, but my creator does. I started watching in October of 2010, so I've been here a while, like the movie too. I've seen A New Generation 2 or 3 times now. Yes, we're all so happy for you. Anyway, my knowledge of MLP comes from her, so if I get something wrong, blame Misal, not me. Now, the video I'm talking about is a long one, so I expect this one to be a long one as well. So grab some snacks, a drink, keep an eye on that time so you can take your meds when you need to. The person I'll be talking about seems to mostly do reviews. He claims to do mostly retro video games and movies, as well as ones that don't get a lot of attention. Though with the video I'll be covering, that doesn't seem to be strictly the case. Also, if I agree with him or Misal does, but we have no real point, one of, if not both, will state so in some way because Misal wants to get her opinion out there on the movie, and it'd be weird just if she did it and she was the only one. Lastly, spoilers for MLP Generation 5, A New Generation movie. If you haven't seen it and you want to without spoilers, then come back to this video after you've seen the movie and have your own thoughts on it. With all of that taken care of, shall we begin the video?
Then this person named Miss Anthropopony, who reviews MLP stuff as well as Star Wars stuff and other things, made this video about the new MLP movie, this review, and it's pretty bad. It's really bad. Bad enough that when I was done watching it, I wanted to make a response to it.
What a coincidence. I felt the same way about yours after Misal finished it. Small world, huh? Also, it doesn't seem like you edit any of your videos, or you do minimal editing. May I suggest you edit out your uhs, ums, and pauses?
I may see some mean things in this video, mostly joking.
My creator is very dumb. She never picked up on any jokes in this video. Hey! So, if you happen to make another video like this in the future, could you be a bit more obvious for people like her? You don't even have to say that it's a joke, just a tone change could work. Or something in your voice, just some sort of hint that it's a joke.
I'm a fan of the hit series My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I know it sounds really...
So, for this portion of the video, he talks about the fact that he's a brony and tries to use that as context to be like, well, this new MLP movie is an insult to the old generation. I'm not really going to respond to most of this because it doesn't really matter, and most of the arguments that he makes don't really have to do with this anyway. But I'm just going to kind of fast forward through most of this for y'all.
Then why didn't you skip it to begin with? You do right after that clip was played, and if it's not important, then why have it in at all? I think it's important. I mean, you should know if someone's biased in a review, and Miss Anthropopony is biased towards My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, or G4. So you do have a brain cell. I made you and I can unmake you. But you won't.
The leaked designs are literally just copy-pasted, slightly higher quality versions of the Generation 4 models. And all the characters, for the most part, look like they have the same personality types as they did in Generation 4. So it would literally be a direct one-to-one, essentially, for the most part, save for, I think Applejack looked a little different in the leaked designs. But everyone else looked basically the same. Just real quick, I know I already brought it up, but literally look at this. Basically same design, basically same design, basically same design, basically same design. Ooh, they added some stripes at a different location and slightly changed the hue. Applejack looks kind of different, but it varies between these quote-unquote leaks, but they all basically look the same, save for a few characters having their races changed.
Okay, I know that was a long clip with no interjections on my end, but I'm about to make up for it with knowledge I have from Misal as a beginner artist. You're welcome! We'll start at Twilight, since she's the one on the left, and we'll go to the right. Okay, so you have normal G4 Twilight to start with. A purple unicorn with darker purple as the primary color in her mane, with 2 streaks of color running through it. This is the basics on how she looks. But with the second Twilight, you can see hooves like a normal horse has, dark gradient that starts at the hooves and goes lighter as we go, hair that isn't exactly boxy as it was before, and a different muzzle shape from what the looks of it. Even a different eye color from what I can tell. These are the changes so far. The third Twilight seems to have a different ear shape. The hair takes on that boxy look of G4 Twilight, but still has more flow to it. She has hooves like a normal horse would. There's fur tufts on her, I think that would be her chest. Her legs look longer than the other Twilights, and the QA mark seems to have more details as it looks like part of space. Now I'm moving on to Applejack, as I don't want to be here forever explaining how all the different ones are from the original. So, for Applejack, we can see that she's an orange pony with yellow hair, 2 ponytails, one for her mane, one for her tail, freckles, and a brown hat with green eyes. This basically makes up her design. So we move on to the second Applejack, and the differences between them is obvious to see. First, Applejack is missing her hat. Second, her hair seems to be longer. Next is that she has a face mark, plus she seems to be mostly browns rather than orange like the original. She has hooves like a horse as well, and these seem to be the main differences. Plus, there seems to be a gradient on her too. The next Applejack also doesn't have a hat. The ears also look different from the looks of things. The hair is more elegant looking, as well as having more style to it. She has markings on her face and down her neck to a small tuft of fur that she has on her chest, as well as hooves like a normal horse, though these are green, which makes me think she's more showy. Her cutie mark is also very different. This is the most different out of all the designs so far, in my opinion. Next, we'll move on to Pinkie Pie, whose design is rather simple. She's a light pink pony with a pink poofy hairstyle and blue eyes. Not much going on there. The next Pinkie Pie is far more crazy than the last. Her hair looks more poofy and looks like it's trying to come alive, yet looks so soft. Her coat is light pink with darker pink patterns appearing in splotches across her body. Her hooves have been done like a normal horse's, but look like a golden color. It looks like this Pinkie Pie once controlled chaos magic to me. The next Pinkie Pie dials it down a little, as while she does have a different ear shape, horse hooves, and bigger hair, there's not much else to mention. Yes, I know, Pinkie and Twilight's races have changed, but he mentions that, so I don't feel like I have to, since it's not important right now. Next would be Rainbow Dash, the fastest Pegasus we know. The G4 version is a light blue pony with rainbow hair and magenta colored eyes. It's a rather simple yet very unique design. Then we go to the next version, which seems to be taller than the original me, plus she seems to be wearing some sort of jewelry on her head and above her hooves, which reminds me of the Wonder Woman. Then there's the hairstyle, which actually looks like it's been styled to look like that, instead of it being bedhead. Next there's the wings, which have a rainbow design to them, along with being bigger as well. The hooves look like a horse's would, but have a golden coloration to them. She also seems to be more powerful than our Rainbow Dash, but that's just on the looks alone. The next rainbow looks softer and also sharper than G4 all at the same time. The face looks softer, whereas the hair and wings look sharper. And speaking of the hair, it looks like it was supposed to be that way. The wings also have more feathers and seem to have a gradient from the tip of the wing that goes down towards the base. She also has hooves like a horse, though they are a bit difficult to see. She also looks like she's wearing makeup. Next we'll move on to Rarity, who is white with blue eyes and a stylish purple mane and tail. She absolutely wears makeup, which can be seen above her eye. A simple yet elegant design. So let's look at the redesigns. The first thing you might notice about this Rarity is her height, as she seems to be taller than our Rarity. Then you might notice the horn is also higher. The hair has a gradient, being white at the base and going into purple for her hair, which also seems longer and more flowy than the G4 Rarity. She also has bands, but they're further up on her legs and something on her head that looks like jewelry. The hooves are also normal horses as well. The ears also have a different ear shape. To me, she looks more childlike. Let's move on to the next Rarity, which is more like the original, but she's taller. Her horn is longer and looks a bit like it's crystal as well. Her ears are a different shape. Her hair looks longer. There's also horse hooves in this one as well. There isn't too much of a difference to me on this one from the original. Now we'll be moving on to Misal's favorite from the main 6. Fluttershy. She's a yellow pony with pink hair and looks like teal eyes. Not too much going on with her, but the design is nice. Now let's look at the redesigns. The first thing you might notice on this design is the horn, but the second is its height that she's gained. Next might be the plants that seem to be growing on her. You may also notice her hair seems to be longer. After that, you might notice that she has horse hooves, and that's about all the differences. I can't tell if those plants are growing on her or if it's just jewelry type things. The last Fluttershy seems to have longer hair, a horn, horse hooves, and butterflies that seem to be alive. It seems there weren't a lot of changes on the Fluttershy redesigns, or at least for the ones that have been discussed here. So, as you might be able to tell from all these redesigns, having various levels of success. Though I wouldn't say they're all basically the same as the originals. Except Fluttershy's. She's the only real difference there is the change of race.
Japan did this a lot, though.
Jeez, dude. Mind backing off the microphone? It sounds like you're purposely trying to make this video unpleasant to listen to. If you're going to not edit your videos to make them visually appealing, then the least you could do is make sure they don't hurt to listen to.
In the case of My Little Pony, it does the very same thing. Generation 4 takes place in Equestria, just like Generation 5 does. Same world, but Generation 4 happens long before Generation 5. So there's completely new characters, completely different cultures. The world is entirely different, and there is completely new technology. So this argument that it's not original, or that it doesn't do justice to Generation 4, I find ridiculous, because that's not the point of it. The point isn't for it to be taken up as like, oh, this is a direct continuation to Generation 4, because it doesn't just start the next day. It continues way later on, potentially thousands of years after Generation 4.
Hold on, you just said it's the same world. If it's the same world, then how is it entirely different? Misal, he means the planet's the same, but the world has changed, and it's no longer the same. Now get out of here. This is my video. Now, you say G5 isn't a direct continuation to G4, but it's still a continuation, and people are going to have expectations from a sequel that they wouldn't have from something like a reboot. Because this is a sequel, people are going to have questions and frustrations when there's no answers. It's just how humans are. Humans find patterns where there aren't any and want to know things before moving on. My creator and her friends have questions too, which might come up later.
Funny he mentions this, he does exactly the thing that he's ragging on right now. He literally nitpicks for most of this review. I want you to understand that I'd say about 20 minutes worth of this review is nitpicking about lore, and we're going to enjoy this together. You're going to suffer with me, friends, because I had to watch this shit last night.
Oh gosh, how far into Miss Anthropony's video are you? Because with your video, I'm roughly 14 minutes in, and I'm sure we're past the 14-minute mark on my video. You're nitpicking too, so am I. We're all hypocrites. Let's move on.
Or Starlight Glimmer was introduced in Season 5.
By the way, just tips to Miss Anthropony. I know you have way more subscribers than me, but you seem to not understand how to make a good video. So people understand your point. You don't have to go down every season. People get the fucking point. Move on.
Or Flurry Heart.
Okay, I know I broke this rule earlier talking about designs, but it's called Rule of 3. It suggests things in writing that come in thirds is more humorous, satisfying, or effective, and the rule itself does this in its explanation. Just something to keep in mind for the future, I suppose.
He makes the claim that it uses the same setting multiple times, but Canterlot does not exist in this world. The Everfree Forest no longer exists in this world. This world it may be the same world, but it's been such a long time since Generation 4 happened in the timeline that everything is completely different. New cities. It's not the same fucking setting. It's not like they just copy and pasted Ponyville or Canterlot or any of these other places.
We don't know if Canterlot or Everfree no longer exist. Misal actually has a theory for this and why Equestria seems so small. If you don't mind, Misal. Okay, so first we take a look at the MLP map from G4. Pretty big with lots of places to go, but then we look at the G5 map and it looks like a lot of places have disappeared or something. Like, that part of the world no longer belongs to the ponies, so what if it belongs to Everfree now? We have seen Everfree get so bad that Zakora had to move out before, and with no magic, it is possible Everfree got out of hand to the point where ponies may have had to make something to keep Everfree from getting in. Thus, the rest of the world doesn't exist to them anymore.
From my home, I've had to flee. The forest has grown too wild, even for me.
I have no evidence for this. It's just a fun little theory I thought up. But it would explain why the map is so small and where a lot of places that used to be went.
And by choosing to make G5 a direct sequel to G4, they've created a bigger problem for themselves. Now not only are people going to inevitably make comparisons between G4 and 5,
People are going to make comparisons anyway. You've already stated this. It's not like Hasbro did anything wrong, because dumb fucks online are comparing it to Generation 4. But
Dude, let the man finish a point before cutting in. I'm trying to ensure you finish a sentence before I speak. It ensures that you get everything out of the way and can make a proper point. If you are having problems remembering what you wanted to say, then you can write a script or just write down ideas for what you want to bring up. And while there are people that are going to make comparisons anyway, it could be worse for G5 because there's a lot of lore in place for the world already that shouldn't be disregarded just because it's in the future. Like if they say dragons never existed. They would be wrong due to what G4 has shown. Bad point, I know, but I wanted people like Misal to be able to get it. Hey!
But now they have the pressure of being respectful to the continuity and lore of G4. It's not a reboot, a remake, or a spin-off. It's a direct follow-up to the story and world building established in G4.
But it's not. because that's what he seems to lack the understanding of. Yeah, it takes place in the same world, but it takes place so long in the future that everything is different culturally. So it has its own new lore. I don't know how you cannot understand this concept of time. Like, time goes on. So yeah, when they show the main six throughout the movie as little, like, Easter eggs, that's paying some respect to the old lore and showcasing what Equestria used to look like in the old times. But that's the old times, and there's a new lore and a new culture. I don't know how you don't understand this.
And because it's a direct...
Are you serious? It has added lore, yes, but the old lore is still there. Just because they're in the future doesn't mean the past just disappeared. Do you think dinosaurs never existed, or do you think T-Rex never had feathers? Things in the past don't change just because time moves forward. We may discover we were wrong like they did in the movie, but that doesn't mean the past has changed just because we discover it. For us, it changes, but for those who lived it, it's factual. So there's the old lore in the show, but there's also new lore as well.
A sequel is a continuation in a timeline, just as The Legend of Zelda 2 is a sequel to The Legend of Zelda 1. Legend of Zelda: The Link to the Past is a sequel, right? It takes place in the Zelda timeline. A lot of people really like A Link to the Past, but the continuity is really fucky between Legend of Zelda 2 and A Link to the Past. So, I mean, time fucking changes.
Why are you bringing video games into this? They are completely different from movies. They aim to achieve different things. With games, you are in control and choose if the story and lore is important to you. In movies, the lore and story are usually more important than games. Yeah, timelines can be weird in games, but in movies, if the timeline is weird, it's worse.
Okay, he's using clips now, so I can go ahead and respond to this.
Well, at least you aren't cutting him off in the middle of a point again, though this is going to be a long response, and so I'll have to cut it up a bit to reply and not have him talking for like 4 minutes straight.
So, again, Generation 5 takes place in a drastically different time than Generation 4. He makes the argument that all the things that were done in Generation 4 become pointless because Generation 5 is different, as in Twilight Sparkle no longer rules and there's division between the three races of ponies.
And that division of pony races is a valid problem to have with this movie. Not only has it been done in MLP G4 more than once, but it feels like the viewer wasted their time with G4 just for them to make that change. Unless it was done for a very good reason and they have some big bad that's going to be very entertaining that wanted the magic of Equestria or something, I don't see why they'd make this change. Humans like feeling like they haven't wasted their time with something, and when you make a change like that, it makes humans confused on why you'd make that change.
The problem with this is that we can look at our own world, this thing called history. And I'm not going to give a false equivalency, I'm going to actually give an example that relates to what I'm talking about. So let's look at Rome, right? Rome was once a great empire that did a lot of good things, created a lot of things, did quite a bit of bad things. But at the end of the day, they created this big, massive empire with this big, beautiful architecture. Where is that today? Oh wait, most of it's in ruins and doesn't exist anymore. And what was previously the Roman Empire is now plenty of different countries that have their own governments, their own culture, their own architecture, and live in a completely different world than what they did 1,000 years ago. What Twilight and her friends did were not for naught, because it did matter. It did matter in the present when MLPG 4 took place. Twilight and her friends were able to help bring Equestria together and to create a new ascension to the throne, a new generation of magic in Equestria, a new generation of acceptance and equality between the different races and species that live in Equestria. But this could have potentially been thousands of years ago, even though we don't have a direct date.
Yeah, that was a lot of talking from him, but now it's my turn to talk for a while on why this point doesn't matter, and it ties back into my last point. Humans don't like to waste their time. In the show, it may have mattered at the time what Twilight was doing, but in our world, we feel like those 10 years of watching MLP was for nothing. What people saw the characters go through, the hard work characters put into staying unified, and the amount of effort was all gone in less than 10 minutes. 10 years thrown away for less than 10 minutes of a movie where you have to see them learn this lesson yet again. Why watch MLP G4 when the movie's just going to throw away the time you put in and say, let's do this again? It makes humans feel like they've not only wasted their time, but like no one cares for the time that they had put in. Of course, not every human feels this way, but some do and dislike the route Hasbro has taken with the movie.
And he's about to complain, or he's about to complain in a little bit, as this video goes on, that this current generation, MLPG 5, does nothing to explain how long it's been. But if you actually paid attention and watched the movie actually does show you. It does this thing called show not tell, which is one of the best things you can do in storytelling. Later on in the movie, I'd say about halfway through the movie, maybe a little less than half, after meeting Zip, she breaks the main characters out of jail, and she takes them to this, what used to be a train station in Old Equestria. And it has these stained glass paintings of how things used to be when all the ponies used to be together in harmony.
No, it doesn't tell us how long it's been. It gives us hints and tells us that it's been a long time, but it doesn't say if it's been 100 years or thousands of years. But if it's only been 100 years, we should be seeing some familiar faces. Yes, show don't tell is great for some stories, but sometimes information must be told, and as long as it's done in an interesting way, why complain about it? I wouldn't say it was a train station, but it was something like that, and those are stained glass windows, not paintings. This is why writing scripts can be important.
That is where the main plot of the movie is revealed, and that they think that the way to bring the magic back is by getting these items back. Now, literally, if you listen to what I said, and if you watch the movie, the word is ruins. And they look like they're about hundreds of years old at the very least. So if what was once a prosperous train hub hasn't been used and destroyed and built over hundreds or potentially 1,000 years ago, then things are going to change. He even brings up the fact that ponies like spread rumors and propaganda about the others, about how they're going to eat each other and stuff like that. Oh, if you see a unicorn will zap your brains out. Or if you see an earth pony, it will eat you. That doesn't just happen overnight that a whole populace believes that propaganda. It takes decades and centuries for an entire populace to believe one line of propaganda.
Okay, we'll get to those magic items later. For now, let's focus on something else. Hundreds of years isn't a long time, especially for creatures like Discord, T-Rex, statues, the princesses, and probably a lot of other creatures that live or lived in Equestria that we never see in the movie or are even hinted at. Next point is they actually could have rumors spread overnight. They used to have magic, and all it takes is a creature like Discord to snap his fingers, then no one is friends with the other again.
What even happened? What caused the ponies to go back to hating each other? There isn't a single line of dialogue to help explain what caused pony kind to separate.
So this is the problem with Misanthropony, is that he doesn't seem to have the ability to use critical thinking. So in the movie, you will learn why the characters hate each other. And it's shown to you quite a bit.
No, they don't actually say what happened. They show the results of what happened. We don't even get something in the background hinting at what happened, which would have been easy to do. We could have seen a newspaper clipping from Argyle's collection that said something like, "New threat of Equestria has unicorns working against other ponies." Then we'd have an idea of what happened, but we never get that. You say Misanthropony's video is 30 minutes and 48 seconds, and we're a few seconds from 40 in yours.
Okay, you say it's absurd? But there's this group of people called the Nazis.
Nope, not touching that one. Don't need to explain why that's bad. Next!
What was the point of Rome?
For real living people to stay alive and survive. That's like asking what's the point of Mississippi. People live there, it's their home, but eventually they won't. Humans will die out and the planet will heal, so should we stop caring? Of course not. Humans have to survive as long as they can because it's in their nature to do so.
Do you know what the point of Rome is at the end of the day? You know what still survives from Rome? The culture.
But that doesn't matter in MLPG 5 according to you. You said the culture and lore had changed, thus it doesn't matter by your logic, right? You said that times change and that Misanthropony doesn't use his brain because times do change.
A lot of traditional foods were taken and evolved as time went on from Roman culture. There's so many literature that still exists from the Rome era. That's how we know about their religion, their belief in certain gods that they borrowed from the Greeks. And a lot of things about their culture in general is from writings that exist from that time period.
Oh, so that'd be their lore. If they were fictional, anyway. Since they were real, I believe it's called history and archaeology, though I could be wrong, of course.
And what about the Student 6? Remember how big of a deal they were making that
The Student 6 are dead, I hate to break it to you, friend.
For crying out loud, let him finish his point. Here, I'll do it and see if your interjection was of any value.
The one thing of value they did throughout their entire screen time? Well, I guess everyone just forgot about it and didn't care about the Wendigos coming back. Screw you, Student 6, your contribution means nothing.
Oh look, he wasn't asking what happened to them. Only if what they did in the past meant anything in the present. I wonder if you'd let him finish a point if you'd have nothing to say because you're just rambling like I usually do. I've had to cut out so much and it feels like I've barely made a dent.
The original show still exists. Are you going to say that the plot points of the Roman Empire no longer exist because of now? We still talk about it in history. There's a reason why.
Because Rome is a real place! You're like a child going around in circles trying to wear an adult down so they can get what they want. A real place can be compared to a cartoon and their world, but not like this. With a cartoon, you don't want to waste your time learning about the past. In real life, that's partly how you get into college.
No one do anything to...
These are all questions, by the way, that do not matter to the enjoyment of this film.
Agreed. I enjoyed the film for what it is, but we'll talk more on that further along in the video. I'm glad one of us enjoyed the film.
Which, almost every other thing in entertainment that skips multiple generations changes everything.
Your mic! Stop trying to eat it! It's going to give out on you eventually, sooner than normal if you keep this up.
Dion Luna did nothing, Discord did nothing, the multiple trees of harmony and their bearers...
We don't know if they did nothing, because that hasn't been clarified. We don't know the history of what happened. For all you know, maybe they did try to do something, and some catastrophic event led to the degradation of society as the old G4 ponies knew it. Led to each other hating each other, and stopped any really thing that could be done to fix it. We don't know yet.
But not too long ago, you said something along the lines of, we know what happened. didn't you? So which is it? Do we know what happened or don't we? It can't be both. Either they started hating each other and were separated that way, or something happened and were separated and made them hate each other.
That doesn't matter for this movie, because what we know is what's happened is happened, right? And you just gotta move on and accept that things are no longer the same.
Humans don't like change. In fact, some will fight against it. He can choose to dislike this movie because it changes too much for him. That's perfectly valid. He doesn't get to tell everyone they shouldn't like it though, like Misal. I like the movie. Doesn't mean I have the right to say others should like it though.
Did nothing? Did Spike just fail his duties as an international ambassador? Did anyone try
It
to
doesn't
send a
matter.
message to Sunset Shimmer about
Doesn't matter.
collapse? I actually have a whole list of...
You're getting to be very annoying. Let's start with Spike. It seems he may have failed his role because no species are friends with each other. Bam. Better response than, it doesn't matter. Next, Sunset may have been dead by the time Equestria collapsed, so contacting her would have been pointless. Boom. Another better response to Miss Anthropony than the one you gave.
Guarantee you that Rome tried to save themselves from invaders.
Stop bringing up Rome. I get it. They existed. So did MLPG4. Find another city. Maybe one that's fictional like MLP is.
But Equestria fell, and that's enough. We know what happened.
Now we know what happened again? Great, I look forward to not knowing in the next 10 minutes.
In the previous generations of My Little Pony, this was given a whole movie to flesh out the fact that...
I swear you're trying to become one with your microphone or something. Back off for 2 seconds and stop speaking like you're trying to become Godzilla. Or at least add a headphone warning. If this keeps up, Misal's going to be deaf before she's 25. 1 more year in a few days. Yay!
See, because the only way you could compare that is...
Was that your phone? I get that you're not professional, but come on. You could at least silence your device while you're recording.
You remember the Blues Brothers, right? A 1980 movie about two
I'm gonna
gay
skip
criminals
this.
who return to their...
And I'm going to take a break. Come back for part... No, we aren't. I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you until the video is done. No part 2? Alright, I can take the pain.
Every girl I knew from the early 2000s who grew up in the early 2000s watched Generation 3. And had the Generation 3 toys.
Misal, if you please. Hi, I'm Misal. I was born in 1997 and grew up in the early 2000s hating MLP. I liked G4 when I saw it in October of 2010. If it weren't for Gen 4, I never would have liked MLP and wouldn't be the person I am today. Thank you, Misal. Now let's move on to the next point.
Are taking the investment I had in your story, throwing it in a trash compactor, and laughing at me for having it.
If that's the case for you, then that's a you problem. If you're so upset that history is a concept and time advances, then that's a you problem.
Looks like you need a mirror. I mean, unless you do like this video, then you have no place to be talking as your video is over 2 hours and 30 minutes long.
But nitpicking the concept of time is retarded.
Right.
I wouldn't call it nitpicking the concept of time. I'd say he's being precious over a TV show he's overly attached to. Honestly, a lot of people are like that. He's just got a really big audience.
By the way, the first 4 movies of this, the first 4 minutes of this fucking movie are amazing. I literally had a big dumb grin on my fucking face.
I know this isn't scripted or edited, but this is why we do those things. Also cutting into his point here, but I wanted to save my praise of the movie till the end of this, but I can say the first 4 minutes are pretty good.
Without magic. In the case of Earth Ponies, Earth Ponies really don't have their own form of magic.
Yes, they do. It's been confirmed for a while that Earth Ponies have their own sort of magic. They have a special connection with the Earth and plants that allows them to be about the only ones that can farm plant life. That's their magical ability as far as I know, and this is even hinted at with Pinkie and Applejack both being from farms. More so Applejack, but still, they both are from farms, and farms are usually seen with plant life on them.
Where's the chaos? Why isn't everything destroyed? Why are there no severe consequences for the disappearance of magic? I might be getting ahead of myself here, but this already makes 0 sense.
They explain why magic disappears. Everybody stopped being friends. Friendship is magic, right? They stopped being friends, thus magic went away.
Now, if only Miss Anthropony was asking why the magic disappeared, then you'd be making a great point. But he wasn't. He was asking why the world wasn't in chaos, since if we are told in G4 if magic went away, the world would be in chaos. The world looks fine though, not as good as it could if they had technology and magic, but not as bad as we were told it'd look if something did happen to the magic. We were told that it may look something like one of those alternate timelines Twilight went to when Starlight stopped the rain boom from happening. Well, not directly, but it was hinted at that Without magic, the world would fall into chaos and disharmony.
The of magic in G4 was something that was integral for the world to work. They relied on it for their weather, their food, and to keep the orbit of the sun and moon in check. But none of these things are brought up as an issue throughout the film.
Technology changes.
Magic and technology are very different things. It was stated that magic was necessary for weather and stuff to happen. The only place stated not to need magic from ponies while still being in Equestria was Everfree. Things happen on their own besides the sun and moon moving. While it is possible that the ponies have found a way to make the sun and moon move without the princesses, it's likely to have been very difficult to do.
I think this point is honestly the best point that he makes.
Agreed.
But I still don't think that it's that much of an issue. Sure, you can argue this is the same world, and in G4, Celestia and Luna needed to exist so that the sun and the moon could keep going. And that's fair enough, but at the same time, technology has changed quite a bit, so I feel like if you wanted to find an answer, you probably could.
There's no argument that this is a different world. Currently, it's basically fact that this is the same world as the one in G4. Yes, it's changed, but it's the same one, and some may think it's too different, but it's the same one that Twilight lived in before.
Magic.
By the way, they may even give an explanation for this as the show goes on, so honestly, I wish he would reserve his judgment, because the quality of this movie does not hinge itself on the fact that Celestia and Luna aren't there, so how does the sun and moon work? Because there may very well not only be an explanation, but Celestia and Luna could still be alive and in a different part of this world that hasn't been explored yet. Just like dragons could still exist along with griffins and all that stuff, because...
Yet the movie never even hints of those species being around. True, people should probably wait for at least one season before they start asking questions, but humans are allowed to be annoyed about this. Humans don't like to wait for answers, and it annoys and frustrates them that they are forced to wait for answers, and some will come up with theories to satisfy themselves until they get actual answers.
How are the Earth ponies supposed to harvest food? Wasn't it
with their hooves.
First, cutting into Miss Anthropony's point again. Second, Miss Anthropony was asking about how they farm since they don't have their magic. Third, well...
They live in Maritime Bay, which is a port town, so they probably fish. Let's be honest, they probably have some form of technology to help them fish. We don't see that in the movie because it's not important to the plot, but I assume they have some sort of technology. It's obvious that they can cook. I mean, if they have enough technology to build fucking robots and machines, then they have enough technology to fucking cook.
I doubt that they're going to eat fish. We don't see a lot of ponies eating meat. We do see Sprout about to eat a slice of pizza, so it's unlikely they're vegan. Perhaps vegetarian? Unless they found a way to make cheese and such without other animals needed. But as far as we know, we don't see any farms or even really any gardens. So it's possible that the Earth ponies got worse with plants since their magic left. That being said, they are certainly doing well for themselves and seem to have found a way to make food without their magic. I still doubt they're fishing for food, though.
Speaking of cutie marks, I want to bring this up, and this is actually one of the things that I really liked. He didn't really bring this up, but cutie marks are not a focus in this movie. It may be a focus in the show, but I actually really enjoyed that, because the thing with cutie marks is it literally creates a one-dimensional character, because what happens is, oh, this character is entirely based off their cutie mark, and what that cutie mark stands for. So what ends up happening is you have these characters that are very one-dimensional, and I like the fact that the new MLP generation seemingly isn't focusing on cutie marks.
I'm jumping in again to say that I agree, somewhat. I think that the focus on cutie marks can be fun and a good thing, but sometimes you just don't need that. I can see fillies and colts seeing them as a big deal, and the older ponies just not caring or minding too much. Like children wanting to be adults and adults just being. My turn. Cutie marks can create a one-dimensional character, you are correct there. However, that doesn't mean it always is. For instance, let's look at Fluttershy. Her special talent is that she's good with animals, but her personality is kind, gentle, shy, easy, scared pony. She gets bouts of bravery to protect others she cares about, and when she isn't good with some animals, she seems to snap and getting very angry. I wouldn't call her a one-dimensional character, even though we know about her cutie mark and how she got it.
Equestria on snow and ice? Did they just cancel heartswarming because the holiday doesn't mean anything anymore? We don't know. None of this is ever explained.
Culture changes. You realize that some of the old pagan holidays aren't celebrated? We still use some of them, like Christmas, which is a pagan holiday.
But we don't celebrate Christmas in order to keep evil spirits from freezing the continent. People celebrate Christmas for religious reasons sometimes. Others might celebrate Christmas because they have family members who do as well. They celebrated heartswarming because it was a reminder to stay friends and that the evil wouldn't be coming back if they did. I can't see why you didn't understand what he was saying.
There isn't a single line of dialogue that hints at anything that could explain how their society is still functioning without magic.
They show it, It's called Show Not Tell.
Agreed, but I think misanthropony means how come the world hasn't crumbled when it was implied in G4 that without magic the world would be dysfunctional.
Pegasus, we meet the unicorns, and we see how hard they've been hit by the lack of magic. We want Sunny and her friends to succeed.
Agreed.
And we also see how people are mistreated from the propaganda that's spread, and we want the characters to be friends again. We want the species to be brought back together, and we want Equestria to be in harmony again. I don't know what you're smoking.
Smoking, snorting, either works for this, I guess. Personally, I wasn't invested in Sunny and the world, so I didn't care too much. Misal has already cut in to just agree with you.
So the actual plot is traveling across Equestria in search for a MacGuffin they need to restore magic. I was saving this criticism for the
By the way, it's not about the MacGuffin. The MacGuffin is the MacGuffin, which is a misnomer, isn't what ends up saving the day. It's the fact that these characters were such good friends that they were willing to stand up against all forms of adversity that brought magic back. They were willing to sacrifice their own lives to save each other. That's what brought magic back in this world. The MacGuffin was a symbol. They found it in an old train station with these old stained glass windows, and it's shown that these artifacts, these little artifacts, were made as a symbol to show their friendship. But the artifacts mean nothing if the friendship doesn't exist.
You're right about the artifacts being a symbol of friendship, and it looks like it probably came together with 3 pony races are brought together. Also a little off topic, but I think the design of the Earth Pony crystal is a bit bland, when they could have made it look more like a hoof or a horseshoe since it represented the Earth Ponies a bit more. But that's just a nitpick and my thoughts on a wasted opportunity for a neat design.
Wait, it's making its first appearance 12 years after the fact?
This is where we're faced with the issue of trying to fit things that come from. Why are we only learning about it now? This is supposed to be a very important item, but it's making its first appearance 12 years after the fact.
12 years after the fact. I actually didn't... When I watched this last night, I didn't hear this. What do you mean 12 years after the fact? It hasn't been 12 years since Generation 4 and Generation 5. What the fuck are you talking about? 12 years? They never say how long it's been. What? Okay, this point's fucking stupid.
This is where we're faced with the issue of trying to fit things into the story way after the first season. In a tell-don't show...
Oh, he's talking about the stupid fucking comic that I haven't read. I thought he was talking about this, the fucking artifact for G5.
Kind of way.
Miss Anthropony was saying that the artifact was introduced 12 years after MLP started. MLP Generation 4 first aired in 2010, and I believe Miss Anthropony is saying that if this artifact was so important, it should have been introduced when the elements of harmony were introduced because of how important they were in that generation. Was that really so hard for you to understand, or are you just hearing what you want to and making arguments for points you think you hear?
Why don't you actually watch the movie and then talk about the movie?
Same reason you don't watch the video and then talk about the video. Should I tell you to use your eyes or your brain like you tell him to open his eyes and use his brain? You seem like you're paying half attention at best.
Why did Sunny's father have one of the pieces?
Why does it matter? Sunny's father had the piece.
It could be important. We don't know. It's possible Sunny is a relative of a once important pony, and that's why her father had the crystal. It could have been passed down from generation to generation, or it could have been just something he saw in a history book and hunted down to buy or obtain to give to Sunny.
That answers his point, but in those there are stained glass windows that show the creations of these artifacts. So we know how they're created. You're just too fucking stupid to actually watch the movie.
Then my creator is pretty dumb too. I'm being bullied by my own character. But you don't know how they were made. You only have ideas and theories. What are they? 1. That Twilight made them as a symbol of unity between the 3 races. 2. The pony races worked together in memory of Twilight, making a sacrifice to save them as a way to show that they'll always be friends. 3. The Tree of Harmony made them with what little magic it had left to bring the ponies back together one day. Now Nadia... which is it? Are one of those right, or are they all wrong?
Very well animated movie.
Agreed. The animation was absolutely beautiful, and the shading with the campfire scene is so warm and wonderful. I could practically feel the warmth radiating off that fire. I will agree, the animation was good.
Let's start with the new world. It's honestly kind of bland.
Shows a pretty good screenshot, calls bland. So the Pegasus City is very opulent and beautiful. It's kind of similar to Canterlot, but has its own style and design that's pretty cool. You can see right here that they have screens, so it seems that TV or some form of technology similar to television was invented by the Pegasi to broadcast entertainment. We see that advertising is a big part of of the Pegasus culture. I mean, you have what is basically a Nike symbol with just Wing It. We see what looks to be like an energy drink.
Honestly, you're right, the world has changed and looks like it could be interesting to explore more of it. For sure! Though, I want to point out my thoughts on something.
We see what looks like a restaurant, which has a ripoff of, I think Schlotsky's is what it is.
I think it's more like a McDonald's. The logos are the same color, it has yellow wings like McDonald's golden arches. Kids are more familiar with McDonald's in general, and it's a kids movie. But I could be wrong, it's just where my mind went.
Sluggish, and they at least
This is the only point I agree with him on this movie, is the pacing is really good in this. At least there's one thing he seems to have a brain about.
take the time to
I agree. I thought the movie was going to move faster, but I'm really happy that we take the time to breathe and let the characters just be. Yeah, I gotta admit, I felt like the characters were actually making friends with one another instead of just being a group of adventurers sent on a quest.
So he says that the comedy is kind of lacking. I didn't feel this way. I actually laughed quite a few times. And my niece seemed to feel the same way. Granted, she's a lot younger than I am, being 6 years old, and me being 23, so there's quite a bit of an age gap there. But the fact is, simply, that this movie is pretty damn entertaining. And it took 22 minutes for you to even bring up the comedy, and your only criticism is, it was which I disagree with, but whatever.
Disagree. I thought the comedy was okay, but I never laughed at any of the jokes. At least you found some of them entertaining. They didn't even go far enough for me, and it's rather bland in the comedy department.
Sonny's father is the
None of these characters were bland and uninteresting, but he's about to talk about all of them, and I'm going to refute everything he says about them.
usual supportive parent who dies off screen after the prologue.
Usual supportive parent who dies off screen after the prologue. Well, Sonny's dad is not just the usual supportive parent. He's the only parent in this world who teaches their daughter not to fall into propaganda, right? And is shown as a great dad who takes care of his daughter, and his death is important as for motivation.
I agree, but Edie has some words for you. I think Miss Anthroponi was saying that Argyle's whole character is that trope of a supportive, loving parent that dies off screen in the first few minutes of the movie. It seems to be done decently here, so I won't disagree with you. Just that I think Miss Anthroponi was saying that they do that trope and we don't get to know Sonny's father that well.
Moonbo is a Pinkie Pie clone.
So he makes the claim that Izzy Moonbow is a Pinkie Pie clone, and I would argue that she's much more than a Pinkie Pie clone, because she may be kind of have a bubbly personality and make a lot of jokes, but she's how you balance out a Pinkie Pie-like character and do it way better. The way she's portrayed in this movie is way better than Pinkie Pie I think really has ever been portrayed, save for maybe in a few episodes of Friendship is Magic that I would say she's portrayed a little better than Izzy. But in most episodes of Friendship is Magic, Pinkie Pie is an annoying twat that won't shut the fuck up and is annoying and makes jokes that aren't even funny. Izzy made a couple banger-ass fucking jokes in this movie. She may be kind of lightheaded and bubbly and not get everything that's going on around her, but she's also intelligent. She fucking has her own personality and her own goals. We see that when she sings her own song and just throughout the movie's duration. So I'd say that she's much more than a Pinkie Pie clone. In fact, I would argue Izzy is how you write a Pinkie Pie-like character correctly, because at no point did I feel annoyed or dislike Izzy. The whole movie I found her funny and charming, which I could not say for a lot of the portrayals of Pinkie Pie throughout Generation 4.
Disagree. I happen to like Pinkie Pie and laughed more because of Pinkie Pie than Izzy. Izzy is a boring knockoff of Pinkie in my opinion. Funnily enough, I agree with you, dude. Pinkie Pie is annoying and too energetic.
It's completely wrong. Zip is not just Rainbow Dash. Zip is tomboyish like Rainbow Dash and is a new generation version of Rainbow Dash.
Agreed. Where are you going with this?
Rainbow Dash is very full of herself.
I can say she is at times full of herself, yes. Again, agreed.
Rainbow Dash is very full of herself. Rainbow Dash is all about confidence, and she has her own goals. Zip likes doing athletic things. She's very tomboyish, but Zip lives in a society where social media and advertising has taken over, and a lot of the typical gender roles seem to be enforced. You can see that by looking at her sister Pip, who's very into technology and beauty, much in a similar way to Rarity, but quite a bit different as well. Zip, however, is the only tomboy we see, tomboyish character.
I'm gonna stop you right here just to say please be aware of your microphone. Misal wears headphones and she's gotten a headache a few times making this video.
And she actually does quite a few things to make an impression, because here's the deal. Zip is one of the royals, her mom is the queen, and Pip is her sister. So she is a princess along with Pip. And to rescue the other ponies, because the other ponies are thrown in jail by her mother, the queen, she risks her position on the throne to rescue them, knowing that she'll get in trouble, and risks the relationship of her own family with her, because she wants to do the right thing and have a world where ponies live in harmony. That is something that Rainbow Dash wouldn't really do, ever, I don't think. Rainbow Dash's whole thing was she was loyal, but she's never done anything like that, ever, I think, throughout Generation 4. And all of Zip's dialogue never made it seem like she was cocky, and she has her own goals. Her goal is to go out and explore the world, and fly, meet new people. Rainbow Dash's goal was to join the Wonderbolts. And that's about it. We don't really see much of Rainbow Dash's character besides that.
Okay, so that's a lot, but I have a lot to say about this. She risks her position as a royal and her family's as well. That's selfish of her, all because she saw a familiar symbol and thought it could get her answers. Answers on where the Pegasus magic went so that she could fly. She didn't care for others, she just wanted to fly. She even used that to try and convince her sister that it would be best, and it worked because she was right. Every Pegasus wanted to fly, but none of them were selfish enough to put their family in danger to do it. I personally found Zip to be rather self-absorbed, but I hope I'm wrong about her and you're right about her, Nadia.
It's just Rarity, except
Pip is not just Rarity, although I will agree that of all the characters that Miss Pony brings up, Pip is the most lacking of all the characters.
Agreed. She does need more development and seems like a side character for a bit.
for Sunny, she's a diet Twilight Sparkle.
Sunny is not a diet Twilight Sparkle. This point literally made me scream with laughter last night. Sunny is not a diet Twilight Sparkle. Twilight Sparkle was an antisocial pony who spent most of her time in the library doing studies. Even as Twilight became less antisocial and made more friends, her whole thing is that she was very nerdy, she was very by the books in everything she did, and she liked to follow authority. She always liked to work with logic, and followed logic above everything else, whereas Sunny is the exact opposite. In the first 20 minutes of the movie, we see Sunny break multiple laws that are enforced in Maritime Bay by trying to convince people to love unicorns and Pegasi. Twilight would have never done that, because she would have followed the authority of Princess Celestia, 100% of the time.
I agree that Twilight and Sunny are completely different characters, but you haven't been keeping up with Twi's development over Generation 4, and it shows. Twilight and Sunny are very different from one another, and I think the biggest similarities are that they are both female and they both end up becoming an alicorn.
Even the role of the villain feels underwhelming.
I would agree on the villain. Villain's not the best in this movie. I brought that up in my own review. I think it's fair. Does he serve his purpose as a villain? And does it meet the message of the movie, showing how propaganda and misinformation will create villains like this who try to literally commit genocide? Yes, but it's not the most original villain, and we don't get too much time with him on screen. And the little time we get with him is like a shitty song, which isn't even that good. So I would agree the villain kind of sucks, but the movie's still really good without the villain being the best, because literally it's not... The main conflict of the movie isn't the villain. The main conflict of the movie was getting over this huge divide between all their cultures and the generations of hatred between each other. That was the main conflict of this movie. By the time they go up against this motherfucker, they've already solved the main conflict.
Agreed! I wish he was either taken out or built up a bit more, and his song is the worst that the movie has to offer, if you ask me. He could have been better, or at least his song could have. Misal's seen the movie 3 times at least, and all she remembers from the song is these small animals pushing over a trolley. I think it was the best part of his song!
The film briefly makes you believe his mother is the real villain, whispering corrupt things into his ear.
She is the real villain of the movie, by the way. She may make a complete 180 at the end of the movie, and try to get him to stop when she realizes that he's went out of control and way overboard. But she is the villain of this movie. She is the mayor of the town, and because of her policies, she has made it so that literally everybody in this town believes lies about unicorns and Pegasi, and she's used this to profit off of them by creating technology, much like a Jeff Bezos, right? Or something like that. She basically controls all their lives. She is the main villain, because the conflict that happened in this movie wouldn't have happened if she wasn't there to use it as profit to keep spreading this propaganda. Because Sunny and her dad would have long convinced everybody in this town that they should go meet with the unicorns and Pegasi and try to create peace. She is the main villain. She is the one that created the villain. She literally birthed him, and she literally raised him. She is the main fucking villain.
Disagree. False. They have teachers that say unicorns and Pegasi are the enemies. Everyone in town believes it and aren't going to change their minds because of Argyle and Sunny. Now, would some ponies be convinced? Sure. There's probably some ponies that would have believed Sunny and Argyle, but there's also the issue that someone like Sprout's mom would have just popped up and done something like she did. And she isn't the main villain. She made him, sure, but in her factory, when he's calling himself Emperor, she starts to realize this is a bad thing, and that's where we start to see the good in her.
Because it looked optically bad for her. Because her business collapsed, and she's greedy, and now she's no longer making money off of it, and suddenly everybody's against her and him, and they're gonna fail eventually, so she knew it. She's like, just stop while we're fucking ahead.
Whole villain are confusing.
It doesn't make her good.
Did you not watch the movie to this point? When Sunny and Hitch say that the other races have no magic, not only is she in shock, but you can see in her face that she realizes she was wrong. I'll agree that she was greedy, but when she realizes the other races have no magic and aren't a threat, she immediately realizes that they aren't so different and doesn't want innocent ponies to get hurt, which her son was trying to do, and she knows at this point she made a mistake and does her best to not only stop her son, but fix her mistake.
I kind of disagree with this again, because although I do like Hitch and I like his character attributes, I don't think he's in any way more original than any of the other characters. Because all he really is like, hey, I'm the cute sheriff dude who's pretty cool, and I follow the law, And that's really about it, because honestly, kind of like Pip.
Okay, I don't hear all of your point because you cut out, but I'm going to say what I think of Hitch. I think he has a bit of an ego, not a massive one or anything, but he does have a calendar with him for every month hanging in his workplace. He does seem to have a good heart and just wants to keep ponies of Maritime Bay safe, including Sunny. He just has the wrong idea. Now, I'm not gonna say anything on the character as I don't know your point, but your microphone cuts out here and you don't realize it for a few minutes, so here's a few suggestions. The first is bullet points. If you have some idea of what you were saying, then you can cut out the long emptiness. Next is a script, which you'll know exactly what to do and say, even if the audio messes up. Last suggestion is have a second recording device, so if you have anything that happens to your recording audio, you'll have a second one that you can use where the first one failed. By the way, I didn't pause this video or anything here, I just let it go on so you could see how long this went on for, or at least get an idea for it.
They
don't need to answer this.
They would still be alive, yet they took no action when the ponies separated. What happened to the other creatures? The changelings, dragons, yaks, hippogriffs, griffins, zebras, diamond dogs, obsidians, the avians, none of them are even mentioned. What happened to everyone? One argument people will make for this is that these questions will be answered when the series comes out, so I have to wait.
They don't even need to answer these fucking questions. They've already shown you the answer to the question. This happens thousands of years ago, or G4 happened thousands of fucking years ago, so maybe some of these species still exist, maybe they do not. Maybe we'll see some of them make a return, maybe we do not. It is not the job of the fucking show to explain everything that happened in G4 and how it's changed over the past centuries to thousands of years. Because then the show wouldn't be G5, would it? It would be explaining more about G4.
I kinda disagree. With the very powerful creatures, I think they should explain why they aren't around. Saying why Discord and the princesses aren't around may help others understand why they didn't step in to assist. I mean, they seem like they're immortal, so death might not have been an option for them, but if that's the case, then why didn't they ensure nothing happened to friendship? It might be best to explain why they couldn't help and where they went. As for the other species, it'd be nice to know why they also didn't help Equestria, but I can at least understand if they don't explain why those species didn't.
What happened to Sprout? I mean, it's obvious, right? They don't care about Sprout anymore. He got defeated. Sprout is literally nothing. He's literally fucking stupid. The only reason he got power in the first place is because his mom was the fucking mayor and had propagandized the people so much. And he declared himself as fucking sheriff. In a time when everybody was too afraid to question logic. What'll happen to him? Nothing. Maybe they'll throw him in jail. Probably not. Because they're fucking ponies and they're nice to each other and they want to be friends. At most, he'll find the error of his ways and he'll become a better pony. The movie doesn't need to answer this, and it does. It shows him talking to his mom. Mom, was I a good sheriff? And she's like, she's like, yeah, fuck off, by saying like, oh, look, a flying dog, and walking the fuck away. So even his own mom has disowned him at this point. That's enough. All these people have disowned him as a pony, and he's either going to have to change and become a better pony and start making new friends, or he's going to have to get the fuck out.
I don't know if they'll let him off the hook for what he did. I think he'll get some form of community service. I hope he loses his job, and if he wants it back, he has to earn it back because Hitch has employed someone new.
It's obvious what happened to the royal Pegasus family because they fucking show it. They're going to get back into power because they're the royal family. Now everybody can fly again. Zip and Pip actually bring it up. They say, hey, if we bring back magic, all the Pegasi will forget the fact they hate us for lying to them, and we can just come back and be rulers again. They won't care because they'll be happy because they'll have the flight back. They literally say this in dialogue in the movie. How dumb do you have to be?
But Sunny is an alicorn. Misal is confused since alicorns have always been the rulers of Equestria, yet if the Pegasus Queen rules, then how will Sunny? Now I understand if they were put into power, but I can also understand the confusion.
Stop being superstitious.
Yes, the unicorns stopped being superstitious. They were superstitious of magic because they lost it. They thought they were cursed by magic to lose their magic. So yeah, they're not gonna be superstitious anymore because as far as they know, what was a curse is now gone and they have their magic back.
It's unfulfilling and lazy.
I mostly agree, but there's one word where this gets a little confusing. Mayonnaise. It is entirely possible that the unicorns are still superstitious over mayonnaise as it has nothing to do with magic. As far as we know. If it turns out that mayonnaise is magic, I called it first and will be the most powerful creature in existence.
I'm sorry to anyone who supports this dumb fuck on Patreon. I hope you pull your money from him and support better people who actually know how to review a movie.
Okay, you make a follow-up video and claim this is a joke, but it doesn't sound like a joke, nor does it have any hints of being a joke. At this point, we have about 6 minutes and 30 seconds left of this video, so let's go to his other video, shall we?
Everyone, it's me, Nadia Retro, and just a real quick video. A response to Miss Anthropony's comment on one of my videos.
Well, it seems like you backed off the mic in this one.
When I call you a dumb fuck, Miss Anthropony, and make fun of you for a negative review and say that your Patreon should pull support, I'm mostly joking there. That is mostly a joke, and you as someone who's trolled people before, who's been around 4chan, and knows that kind of community, shouldn't be so butthurt by a joke that isn't even that mean. I could have said a lot more mean things about you. I actually tried to hold back because I wanted to make cogent arguments and actually refute your review, funnily enough. But no, I really don't want you to fucking lose all your support. I do think that you don't deserve the Patreons you have. I really don't think you do because you make really poor content, but that's my personal opinion. I don't want you to fucking lose all your money seriously. I don't want that to happen to anyone. That's a little fucked up.
And here this is. Okay. Misal didn't know this was a joke originally and had to watch this video to know that. I know it's not easy, but you can do things to make those jokes a bit more obvious. I've already suggested changing your tone or changing your voice up, but you can edit the video in a more humorous way when you're making a joke. That is, if you ever edit your videos. And that's about it. Let's get to the final thoughts, shall we? Nadia, you talk rather slowly, you pause a lot, and there seems to be a lot of stuttering. If that's something you have no control over, I understand, but it's something that you can work on or help the problem with editing. I know editing may look difficult, but I don't expect you to be an expert, but you can still work on it. You could also add background music. Misal's still working on herself, so take your time and make sure you can get the hang of it. I'm also amazed you managed to speak for that long without scripting, though. I do still recommend making bullet points or something so your video flows a bit better. Misal has seen your spoiler-free review of MLP New Generation and enjoyed it, even if it seems amateur. She and I both think it could be better if you stuck to reviews, and at least for now, as you seem to be good with those and don't have such a hard time speaking in them. Overall, you have a lot of room for growth and improvement. Keep going. We're sure you'll get pretty far. And if I can help, I'd love to. Even though this video was a lot of fun, it was also a lot of work, and I probably got a lot wrong in it. Can I say bye now? Yes. Okay, outro. Take care of yourself and don't forget to improve, even if it's slow. Now go, and be free!